initiative in where he led the development of Param supercomputers. He is a Padma Bhushan, Padma Shri, and Maharashtra Bhushan awardee. He is one of the pioneers of India's IT industry. He was the founder executive director of CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced Computing, and is currently working on developing exascale supercomputing for India. He has been Chancellor of Nalanda University, India since January 2017. Prior to that, he had served in various capacities, including the chairman of Board of Governors of IIT Delhi. Currently, he is serving as the chairman of Vigyan Bharati, a non-profit organization of Indian scientists. Thank you.
Now, I request Professor Katre to
kindly unmute yourself.
Honor. Respected Professor Ravindra Shripad Kulkarni, you were born in Kumbhari, Solapur, Maharashtra on May 22nd, 1942. After receiving first rank in SSC in 1958 from NMV Pune and later in BA in 1962, after being a student of SP College Pune, you were awarded PhD in 1968 from Harvard University with Professor Shlomo Sternberg. You have had an impeccable research and teaching career in mathematics, spanning over 40 years in leading US universities such as Johns Hopkins University, Columbia University, Indiana University, and City University of New York. With conscious volition, you have returned to India in 2001 as Distinguished Professor and Director of Harishchandra Research Institute, Prayagraj. You were a visiting professor at the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay between 2006 and 2012, and are now Distinguished Professor at Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, Pune. Throughout your career, you have held visiting positions in more than 25 universities and research institutions worldwide. You have been invited to 15 different countries to conduct lectures on differential geometry, complex analysis, topology, group theory, number theory, and graph theory. For the academic year of 1981-82, you were a Guggenheim Fellow. You were also known for the Kulkarni-Nomizu product. While you specialize in differential geometry and group theory, you also have a keen interest and expertise in other areas of mathematics, including the philosophy of mathematics, science, and ancient Indian mathematics. You have served as the president of the Ramanujan Mathematical Society between 2013 and 2016. In 2014, you conceptualized and were the founder president of the Indian Mathematics Consortium, through which you organized a conference in association with the American Mathematical Society at BHU. You are the chief editor of the TMC Bulletin. You have been an influential figure for many young mathematicians over the years. You have also guided more than 10 PhD students, written 2 books, and more than 75 papers in reputed national and international journals. Today, on May 22nd, 2022, on the occasion of your 80th birthday, the Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan has organized an international conference in your honor. We also appreciate your social and academic work done through societies and trusts such as SIAA, ARSI, RSK Madat Nidhi, and Ganit Mandal. We wish you a very happy and healthy active life in the years to come. Jiveta Sharda Shatam. Thank you. I now request Professor Bhatkar to felicitate Professor Kulkarni.
The felicitation later.
It is very good.
Gold.
आणि ते शर्ट पॅन्ट.
We request Professor Bhatkar to give him this thing and shawl also.
Many distinguished delegates have expressed their wish to speak on this occasion. So we'll take up first those who have joined the meeting in the online mode. So first I request Professor Karmeshu, who is president of the Mathematics Consortium, to say a few words. Professor Karmeshu.
Good evening. Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure and honor to say a few words on this auspicious day. It is heartening to see that international conference has been organized with so many outstanding, distinguished mathematicians and scholars as speakers. It would be extremely useful if organizers consider the possibility of bringing out a fresh shift volume based on the lectures delivered. I am fortunate to have known Professor Kulkarni and have been interacting with him over last 8 years. I greatly admire his selfless service to the cause of mathematical sciences in the country. His zeal has motivated many of us to help forming TMC, bringing several math societies under one umbrella. TMC has now many universities, institutions, which have become institutional members. This has become possible by generous financial support from Professor Kulkarni. His commitment to form TMC required a lot of efforts to motivate young mathematicians and societies to join and become part of TMC. In this regard, Professor Kulkarni went around to many institutions in the country, more in the Gandhian spirit, to convince societies, mathematicians to join TMC and help in strengthening mathematical science in the country. His continued generous financial support has resulted in a vibrant consortium with a lot of activities. Even during the period of COVID, several lectures have been organized, online lectures, seminars, international distinguished lectures to inspire young minds. What is remarkable about Professor Kulkarni is that he does not want to promote himself, but only the cause of mathematics. A lot of respect for him. We consider him as one of the role models of our times. Professor Kulkarni has deep interest in philosophy, and this provides him a framework which enables him to see the unity of diverse disciplines where mathematics provides a common language. We wish Professor Kulkarni a happy, healthy, and purposeful life. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I mean, we will be back in 2 minutes. There is some problem in the other Zoom account. Okay, so they are just trying to fix that, and thank you for your patience.
Now I request Professor Vinod Saxena, ex-Vice Chancellor of Bhopal University. Professor Saxena.
Yes, good afternoon to everybody. I was at Gwalior rather, not at Bhopal. At present, I am settled in Bhopal. So I am really very happy to be the part of this program. I knew Professor Kulkarni for the last 22 years or so. When I visited HRI, then Allahabad, and he was director there. So I was actually the guest of Allahabad University, but staying in HRI guest house. So I just left, I remember I left a message to the office assistant that I wish to visit the director. After 2 hours, I found in the evening that the Professor Kulkarni, he was in my room in the guest house. And since then, we are friends. And I am very fortunate that I have worked with him as General Secretary of TMC for the first term. In fact, we were the founder, he is the founder president, and we together, including, he created a team for TMC with many great mathematicians and friends, and he himself worked very hard to promote TMC. As far as I know, he traveled a lot for the promotion of the Mathematics Consortium, to not only to the metros or the big cities, but he traveled to small cities and towns also. But I have got the information from him. Even in small towns he traveled, and sometimes not by flight or a train, even by buses he traveled. So this is a great contribution of Professor Kulkarni for TMC in the initial years. And in fact, he could connect so many societies also to TMC. Most of the societies of India are connected with, are associated with TMC. There are many members, and we could understand his image throughout the world that when we organized a conference, TMC and American Mathematical Society conference at Varanasi, there was a large number of mathematicians from US and other countries participated in that. So he is having a very popular image in mathematics as well. At the same time, spirituality is also a part of Professor Kulkarni. When I worked with him, I found him, he's very spiritual, very down to earth. And in fact, he's a real Gandhian, I should say. Professor Karmeshu took the name of Gandhi. In fact, Professor Karmeshu is so simple and unassuming that anytime when I call him, even today, he is available and we will talk and discuss the things. So I am very, very happy to be in this function where we have a chief guest like Professor Patkar and many distinguished mathematicians from India and abroad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Saxena. Now I invite Dr. Khanduja from Chandigarh, Honorary Scientist INSA and Tyson Mohali. Professor Khanduja.
Unmute yourself, please.
Good morning to all our friends in US and good afternoon to friends in India. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me a chance to speak about Professor Ravi Kulkarni, who is not only a distinguished mathematician, but a great human being. I first met him 20 years back when I visited HRI in January 2002. He was the director of HRI at that time. I was a junior professor, a new professor, and he was magnanimous enough to invite me for dinner along with my host, Professor Pasi, and his wife. From the very first meeting with him, I could judge that he was a great human being. After that, I met him after 6 years when I was the convener of annual foundational school in Punjab University, Chandigarh. And then I invited him on a conference in honor of the 70th birthday of one of my senior colleagues, Professor IBS Pasi, in November 2009. And Professor Kulkarni was kind enough to spend 1 week with us. After that, he developed a very good bonding with me and my other colleagues at Punjab University. And he again came for the annual foundational school in December 2010. And finally, on our invitation, he was with us in ISER Mohali in the month of July for 3 weeks in 2012, when I was the convener of the Advanced Instructional School. One very particular thing about him is that during his whole stay, he will sit in the lectures, even in the tutorials, from morning till evening. He will not miss a single lecture or a tutorial. His presence was a source of great inspiration for all the speakers and the tutors. And a couple of times he brought 1 or 2 tutors with him to help us in the running of the ATM school. If I have to describe his character, I will describe it in one word: absolute sincerity. That's what I found in him. He took up anything with absolute sincerity. He's great. He has a dignified personality, very cool mind. His several qualities of head and heart have endeared him to many colleagues, co-workers. I always look up to him with awe and respect. He has been a source of inspiration for us, and we pray to Almighty that this source of inspiration lives long and keep on guiding us and inspiring us. With these words, I thank you. I wish Professor Kulkarni a very creative, healthy, long, peaceful life. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Kanduja. Now I invite Professor Satyadev. Professor Satyadev is here amongst us. Professor Satyadev.
Thank you, Professor Bhatkar, Professor Kulkarni, and all the friends who are assembled here. First of all, I would like to wish a very happy birthday, Professor Kulkarni. And I wish him a long life, a cheerful life, and a healthy life in the days to come. I learned about Professor Kulkarni in the year 1996 when I was visiting the University of Calgary with Professor K. Vardarajan. Actually, somehow our collaboration was on a certain topic of mathematics, and we landed with the idea of discrete groups and discontinuous actions. So we wrote a paper which was published, of course, in the Rocky Mountain Journal of Mathematics. And in that paper, we gave reference to 3 papers of Professor Kulkarni. That was my first encounter with his work. The first paper was in groups with domains of discontinuity in mathematics and Nolan. The second paper was that was published in Advances in Mathematics about Riemannian space forms. And the third paper was 3-dimensional Lorentz space forms and the ciphered fiber spaces, which was published in the Journal of Differential Geometry. Actually, I read all the 3 papers with Varadarajan. Varadarajan was, of course, a great admirer of Professor Kulkarni, and he told me that he is a very good mathematician. Of course, he had already met him, but I had never met him. But then, as the luck would have it, when he joined as director and distinguished professor at Harishchandra Research Institute, I was at that time Vice Chancellor of Viva University. And I wrote to him that I would like to visit HRI. And he was very kind enough to immediately respond to me that you can come here as a visiting professor, just as Professor Pasi has joined HRI. You can also come and be here with us. And I accepted that invitation. And then I joined HRI and I was with him. I joined in the year 2003 and I was with him until, of course, he left HRI and went to IIT Bombay. It was at HRI that he, in fact, conceived the idea of annual foundational schools, which we call AFS and AIS, and even these schools for the college lecturers. These ideas were conceived by Professor Kulkarni and jointly with Verma. And the first AFS was conducted under his supervision in HRI itself. And I remember that the teachers were Professor Kulkarni himself, Professor Pasi, myself, and Professor Adhikari, and even Jugal Verma came. So it was actually the first AFS school in HRI, and it was highly successful. And as all of you know now, that idea of these schools actually became so popular that it has continued. Even now it is continuing. And the beneficiaries are most of the research scholars, most of the MSc students and teachers. And it is going on very well under the National Board for Higher Mathematics because they took over this program and it is still continuing. But the idea was that of Professor Kulkarni. Also, he organized many conferences while he was in HRI, and they were so successful. Many top-class mathematicians from USA, who were, of course, his friends, they came, gave talks, and that was a great encouragement for the research scholars working at HRI. And that's why he attracted students like Krishnendu and many more students who were students at HRI. And when he left HRI, all these students, they went along with him. So it was really a great occasion for me to be with him. I cannot forget the morning walks because I was residing in the campus, Professor Pasi was residing their campus, and Professor Varadarajan was visiting and was living in the guest house. Professor Kulkarni, of course, was the director. So all four of us used to take a walk early in the morning around the boundary wall of the Harishchandra Research Institute. And usually we used to discuss mathematics, used to discuss mathematicians, we used to discuss mathematics in India, abroad, and also other things, as some speakers have said here, because he has wide interest in philosophy of mathematics and also in the ancient Indian culture, ancient Indian mathematics. His interests are really very, very, very wide. So we used to discuss all these things. Then we used to have a cup of coffee and then we used to go to our residences. So that was a remarkable thing and I cannot forget those days. They were really wonderful days. Professor Kulkarni is a great mathematician of amazing depth and very sound scholarship. He has great ideas and remarkable feelings and intuitions. Even during our walks sometimes, if I happen to discuss some mathematics, he will immediately come out with a very good example that I need or with a very good counterexample that is required. So this is really very amazing. And I have always enjoyed his company and the works. Sometimes we also decided to collaborate on certain problems, but that did not materialize. The ideas were, of course, given by Professor Kulkarni to me, and we thought about all these things. We couldn't really produce a paper, but I enjoyed his interactions and his ideas. Now, the only thing I would like to say is that, as people have said, that he created even the Mathematics Consortium. And I know from the very start how he created it. He approached every society. He went, in fact, to even the smaller societies in the country. And he was able to create this group, which has become very active, and the TMC bulletin is coming out very regularly. Very good articles are coming out. It's really a fantastic work, which is being produced by the TMC. And the conference about which Professor Karmeshu mentioned, the BHU conference, where it was done jointly with TMC and the American Mathematical Society. And I remember I was present there, sitting in the front row with the president of the American Mathematical Society. And it was really a great conference. Very good lectures, very many mathematicians, they came, and it was really wonderful. So, nobody who attended that conference will ever forget the seriousness of that conference. So with these very few words, I wish to say that I have a lot of regard for Professor Kulkarni and his work, his mathematics, and also as a human being that I have seen. In fact, he even has become a member of the council member of the National Academy of Sciences. I am also involved in that academy, and he has given some ideas about science and society with Professor Bhatkar. Those ideas are still in pending because there are some problems in Nashik, otherwise they would have materialized by now. So he is really very, very sincere person, a great patriot, I will say, a great scholar of Sanskrit. In most of the lectures, I have seen that he will quote very good Sanskrit slokas with confidence and with a lot of depth in them. So it's really, I'm very happy that we are celebrating the 80th birthday of Professor Kulkarni. And so once again, I wish him a very happy birthday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Satyadev. Some colleagues from abroad have joined this meeting. So now I invite Professor Jose Sieda from Mexico. Professor Jose Sieda. Has left? Okay, yeah. So Sieda to catch a flight, so he has left the meeting. So may I request Professor Valerie Wolf Sokin from New York. Professor Valerie Wolf Sonkin.
Hello, you've given me a promotion. I'm not a professor, but thank you. I met Dr. Ravi Kulkarni in 1990. It's shocking to me that it's been so long. And while all of you have been speaking about the amazing mathematician, the producer of all these papers and conferences and programs, to me, he is the embodiment of a mentor, a father. As he signed one of the books he gave me, a mathematical father and a friend. When I met, who I call lovingly Doc, when I met Doc, he was teaching beginning geometry in college class, and I walked in. I'm very informal. I'm very in your face, and he's very formal. And I was very intrigued. And the first thing that caught my eye was when he taught some sort of a thing, and everyone was like, "Okay, I accept this as a formula." And he came in and saw that we were just accepting the formula and not truly understanding it. And he went, no. When you do this, it goes like this. And when you multiply by that, now we go. And you could see the intensity in his face and the desire for sheer understanding of what was going on. You should see the beauty, not just accept the knowledge. And then he clinched it for me on the day that he taught the fundamental theorem of plane Euclidean geometry. He, as usual, was running late because no mathematician worth a dime could read a clock. And he was finishing up, and in his normal formal way, finishing. And then he turned around to the class and he said, And now you can be happy. And it was pure joy. You could see it on his face. He loved this. He wanted to impart this, and I drank it up like it was a milkshake. It was wonderful, and it changed my life. From that day, Doc became my mentor. I followed him around to anything he allowed me to go to. And he got me a grant for the two of us to do. Calling it a grant for the two of us is an interesting concept because it gave me endless access to sitting at his feet and learning everything, and $2,000, which in those days was a ton of money. And he got to work all summer long in an unair-conditioned room and got a stipend for some books. So a grant for the two of us is interesting, but I loved every minute of it, and he created that for me. Moreover, he's just been somebody that I felt great respect and greatly indebted to on a personal way. And because of that, I named my son after him, which there aren't too many Jewish rabbis running around in Long Island, but there is one now, who unfortunately meant to come today, but Jewish rabbis don't wake up at 6 in the morning. And I'm afraid he overslept, but he meant to be here. Perhaps he'll wake up before the end and be able to speak. He wanted to. Doc, I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm even more thrilled that you're going to be coming to New York soon, and I hope to be able to spend a little time with you because we've missed you greatly here. And a fantastic birthday filled with everything that you hold dear, and because you are something that we hold dear. Namaste.
Thank you, Professor Valerie. Now may I invite Prashant Joshi, who is Professor Kulkarni's cousin brother. He's in New York. Professor Prashant Joshi.
Namaskar, namaste. Hope you can hear me. Yeah, this is a absolutely awesome occasion. I'm overwhelmed, as you can kind of hopefully hear from my voice. Not because it's about 6, 7 a.m. in the morning, but it's really overwhelming to be here among all of you. So we call Ravi Bhai. So I'll say Bhai, awesome wishes to you on your 80th birthday, and wishing you 100 not out. I'm a fan of cricket, so I'll just say 100 not out instead of saying Jeeveta Sharada Shatam. But the other thing I want to say, 22, what is 22? So again, as a rusty computer scientist, 22 is a palindrome. Think about it. So I'm going to take a slight credit away from Ravi because he's blessed with abundance. You look at from left, you look at from right, it's abundance. That's what a palindrome is all about. So 22 is a very special number on which he's born, May 22nd. So again, really, I owe a lot debt of gratitude to him. I came to the country in '87 thanks to him, and I stayed with him for many years. I was at City University of New York. You can see some accolades behind me. Those are at City University of New York, and there again, thanks to him, I was there and I had a fantastic time. And now I'm in the US for the last 35 years. So a lot to share about him. Let me just define, acronym Ravi. What is Ravi all about? As you may know, Ravi is sun, but R for radiant. As you can see at 80, he's radiant with his intelligence, with his stature, his posture. He has a tall posture. He's not bending anywhere. So again, it's an awesome radiance that he's exhibiting. A, what is A all about? A for awesome. He is awesome in many ways. And then V for valiant. He has been a fighter in so many at so many levels, academic, social, and other levels. And finally, what is I for? Of course, he's intelligent. That's a given. But he's inspiring. He has inspired many in the family. We all looked up to him. So again, a lot to share. Just last little sharing. I have the bad habit of going against the flow. So I'm 20 years younger to him. And so I have a little formula, see if that works. Basically, it should work for all of us. It's like a universal formula. The way there is E equals MC squared, I've just created a little formula called H equals CF squared. Again, let me repeat this formula. H for happiness equals C for cheer and F squared. And now F squared, that's a punchline. See if you can see the big picture here. What is F squared all about? Life becomes awesome when you forgive and forget. Again, I'm going to repeat. When we forgive and forget, life is awesome. So that's H equals CF squared is a formula by which he has lived. And I think we all can live so that we can be happy, truly inside out. And with that, again, I want to congratulate him. And I'm on behalf of my family, Manju, Veda, Ila, my family here in Austin, but I'm on behalf of all of us in Joshis and Kulkarnis, wishing you a very, very happy life ahead. Again, 100 not out, and thank you for everything. Namaste, namaskar, dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad. Thank you, Joshi. Sir, Mangala Naralikar and Jayan Naralikar have joined the meeting. So may I request Mangala madam to say a few words. Naralikar madam, Mangala Naralikar. Hello, Dr. Mangala Naralikar. Is she there? She's not there. Anyway, I can go ahead. We can invite her again as soon as she joins, maybe. Okay, so now I think we are through with the people who joined in the online mode. So let's take up those who want to speak here. So may I request Professor J.K. Verma to say a few words. So you can join from there. Maybe.
So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to wish a very happy 80th birthday. I'm in physical mode, so I can shake hands with him. And Professor Bhatkar, Professor Arpulkar, and Professor Katre. Thank you very much for organizing this excellent program. I consider myself to be very lucky to have been associated with Professor Kulkarni. I remember he visited IIT Bombay sometime in 90s when Sudhir organized a colloquium by him, and that's when we discussed first. And even at that time, I could see his devotion to Indian mathematics. Of course, he's devoted to mathematics in general, but I think at that time he announced something for, I don't exactly remember, but in 2001, he returned to India after serving for 40 years in US. This is a very rare thing for a person to do, to be in US for 40 years and then come back to India and then serve for 20 years. And he is still serving in many, many capacities. He has so many ideas for development of mathematics in India. Every now and then he starts a new activity, and it becomes very, very successful. We have seen this in many forms, in conferences, in schools, in organizations, and not just in mathematics, but in other cultural aspects of India. In 2003, especially, I remember when we organized a school in HRI. He was the director at that time. We, as Professor Satyadev had mentioned, with Professor Pasi, Professor Satyadev, and Professor Shastri, he was leading a very important discussion for many, many days. He was concerned that many students and teachers, they are deprived of good mathematics. They are not coming in touch with good mathematicians, and he wanted this to begin. So he gave many ideas for starting various kinds of school. Important idea that he had was, which we never thought about, that these schools must be audience specific. That is, you have to identify audience and then design a school so that it is well received. So the idea of foundation school, that it is for beginning PhD students. And then once these schools were established, then advanced instructional schools in those subjects were started. Later on, Professor Satyadev, I remember in the NBHM meeting, he brought the idea that if you train the teachers, you are training many generations. And so we started the teachers training program, and later on, when Professor Kulkarni joined IIT Bombay as a distinguished professor, he gave financial support to start another program which is called Teachers Enrichment Program, which has become the largest program in the NCM programs. So these ideas which came out with his deep thinking were liked by many people, and organization like National Board for Higher Mathematics, they welcomed these ideas and they have been supported. Once the programs became huge in number, the National Center for Mathematics was started. So you can trace the origins of National Center for Mathematics to the ideas that he gave. So great mathematicians not only do great mathematics, but they start many organizations. They are institution builders. So we are lucky that Professor Kulkarni came from US, and he has helped in starting many organizations and many centers, and he still continues in that direction. I have been lucky to be associated with him as secretary of the Ramanujan Math Society, as secretary of the ATM schools. He was the convener. He was appointed convener by National Board for Higher Mathematics to organize these schools, and I was acting as secretary. And every time I met him in HRI or in Mumbai or elsewhere, he would devote all his time for how to take these programs further, how to improve these programs. So he was deeply involved in taking these programs further, and now you see that these programs are serving the mathematical community in a very big way. Nobody could do that without his ideas. He involved me in other projects like I'm now vice president of the Math Consortium. We had a conference with AMS long time ago, and it was a good conference, and we all thought that it should be done periodically. Okay, it's not a one-time affair. So when good mathematicians from different countries meet, many good things happen. But he realized the problems that people were facing in doing this conference once again. And with his efforts, the conference was organized again in Varanasi, and it was a very, very successful conference. But to do it on a periodic basis, it needed a good idea, and we are glad that you gave the idea of starting the Math Consortium, which brought together many organizations, many societies in India. It was a very difficult feat, and it is serving that purpose again. And this the Math Consortium in India, I hope that will continue to organize these international meetings. We are planning such a meeting with the European Math Society, and we are already thinking of doing the next meeting with the AMS. So these are some concrete things that people should know what he has done for the mathematical community after serving 40 years in US. And then this is possible because of his, he has great energy. And even with so many activities, he comes out as such a humble person that it's difficult not to be impressed by his personality and his ideas. And a lot of people want to work with him. And so we are very lucky that he is among us. And I wish him good health. And I do want to mention that with his association, I have learned many things. I was not aware of so many spiritual things in life. And whenever I talk to him, not only he talks about development mathematics, but the talk about spirituality and mathematics goes in cyclic order. So I thank you for educating me in many of these things. And I wish him good luck in life and good health. And I hope that we will celebrate his 100th birthday in the same spirit. Thank you very much.
Why not 120th?
Sure.
Thank you, Professor Verma. Now I invite Sir V.D. Pathak from Baroda.
Friends, it is my great pleasure to be a part of this program because I respect and regard, I have high regards for Professor Kulkarni. I came in contact with him for the first time when he came to Baroda for delivering expert lecture. And then in Surat, we met in a conference, and that time the idea of mathematics consortium was being finalized, and somehow I became the part of the TMC. We started, actually he has been guiding, I mean, he's the complete force behind TMC. The idea of TMC has been initiated by him, and conceptualization and formation, everything is being done under his guidance. We started publishing TMC Bulletin under his chief editorship. And since then, is it audible? Oh, okay. In fact, we started our TMC Bulletin in 2019 under his chief editorship, and it is going on well because of his guidance and participation. He has devoted, as everybody said, tan man dhan for mathematics. His support for many academic activities, both ways, financially and guidance-wise. And TMC Bulletin can be circulated due to his initiative, and he has given funds through ARSI for circulating hard copies of TMC Bulletin to many institutions in India. I am really lucky to have come in contact with such a great personality, and I wish Professor Kulkarni a very long and active life ahead, and he keeps inspiring the young people, young faculties and students for the many, many years hence. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pathak. Now may I invite Professor Shastri. Here and speak.
No, audience cannot hear. I have very little intersection with Professor Kulkarni. I regret it today. Some of the intersections which we had, my colleague here has already told you, that is with respect to ATM schools. There I have one little, things to be strictly recorded, namely, without Kulkarni's, direct support, ATM schools would not have started. Without his initiation, NCM won't have come in. I'm telling about my intersection with him. I mean, many school of that intersection. Sometimes in 70s, he visited TIFR. In TIFR, usually they give what is colloquium lectures, Thursday lectures, which students like us are forced to attend, quote unquote. At most 10 minutes of that, first 10 minutes we will be able to understand. After that, we won't understand. The first time, perhaps, I understood 50% almost of his lecture. I was thrilled. This is the kind of mathematics I want to do. I met him after the colloquium and I had some small talks, asked him to send his preprints and reprints. These days, you don't, you don't have immediately upload, downloads and so on. By the time the preprints and reprints came, they came as promised by Father Ravindra Kulkarni. I was caught in the vortex of algebraic topology. Whether I regret that or not is different. But what I regret is I lost contact with Ravi Kulkarni. One great thing he has done is, after your words, after living several years in foreign countries, especially US, he has come here and stayed back. Many of them have tried to come back, 1, 2, maybe 2 years, then they go back. They can't always, he has stayed here. It's the greatest, self-sacrifice. Why? Why? You can ask him. He will tell you. High standards of ethical standards I'm talking about. Pragmatic approach to certain problems which we can handle, not the entire country and so on. We are not prime ministers or anything. Foresight of something, oh, this is something good, and then go and support it. Okay. Love for teaching. I am not exaggerating anything. Okay. Neither I like, lab, nor I provide that one. These are the few things I think we have some intersection, and there you are my hero, sir. Thank you. Jivema sharadashatam, nandama sharadashatam, bhavama sharadashatam, aditasyama sharadashatam. This is the birthday song from Yajurveda. Let us all sing him. Jivema. We hope that we will see your 100th birthday. Maybe here is. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shastri. Now may I invite Dilip Patil?
Good evening, everybody, especially the Professor Bhatkar, Professor Kulkarni, and other colleagues. My association with Professor Kulkarni is usually the short meetings, normally which happen during the conferences or ATM schools. And during these short meetings, I was especially benefited personally by his philosophical as well as motivational comments in mathematics, which inspired me to study different fields of mathematics together. And I consider myself very fortunate that I came across these meetings because of these ATM schools, as the other two colleagues have already mentioned more details about it. So I wish him very, very happy birthday and many more active years ahead, so that people like me can meet him in short meetings in ATM schools and get benefited. And with this, I will stop and thank you very much for this meeting and chance to meet him once again for me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sir Patil. I request Professor Sudhir Ghorpade to say a few words.
Good evening. It's a pleasure and honor to be here at this special function where we are celebrating the life and achievements of Professor Ravi Kulkarni. I have been fortunate enough to have known him for quite some time. I don't think he will remember, but I think first time I met him was when I was a PhD student. In the late 80s, there was an AMS meeting, maybe in Kansas or Oklahoma, where I saw him first. But soon afterwards, in late 89, early 90, I joined IIT Bombay. And I think in March, April of 1990, there was a school on group theory from a geometrical viewpoint at ICTP in Trieste in Italy. And I was one of the participants, and Professor Ravi Kulkarni was there. If I remember correctly, you were in Stockholm at the time.
Yes.
At Mittag-Leffler. I mean, I had heard about him because I would, while a student, I would visit Indiana University from time to time, and we all knew that he was there. I think he had just left when I was in Purdue. So in that ICTP school, I had a occasion to meet him, and we would often the ICTP. Many of you know it's located sort of in a hilly region, and you have to walk from lecture hall to this dining room place and so on and so forth. And Professor Kulkarni is known to have take very brisk walks. He, in many sense, he has been taking long strides in his life. So often I would have a chance to walk with him, and he would explain, some of the things that were happening. I think this was a school directed by Hefliger and Etienne Gies. And a lot of wonderful mathematics, which was not easy for me, but with Professor Kulkarni's help, I could get some feeling, and he would, give insight into this. So that's the lecture which Professor Jugal Verma alluded to. I think because I met him in ICTP, then when he was to come to India, I think we arranged you to give a Huzur Bazar Memorial lecture of Bombay Math Colloquium, then come to IIT Bombay. And of course, later on, he returned to India. He was at the HRI, where we would have occasion to meet him from time to time. He not only continued to do mathematics, but did a lot of administration. Then he joined us as a colleague. I think he was in IIT Bombay for 7 years, so we could see him more often. And I've had association with him while he was the president of the Ramanujan Math Society and the founding president of this Indian Mathematics Consortium. So, as I said, it's really been a privilege to have known him and honor to have been able to talk to him some mathematics and learn things from him, get inspired by him. I've always admired, his not only his mathematics, which is deep and wide, but also his vision, his great generosity, which many people have remarked about. See, we mathematicians are somewhat lucky because we have a chance of what Hardy called, making something permanent. If we prove a decent theorem or two, that probably stays longer than many of us. Of course, men come and go, but thing of permanent value do remain. So I think, but in the case of Professor Kulkarni, I think there are many ways he would have left his footprints on Sands of Time by his wonderful theorems, which he proved his mathematics, from his early days at Harvard and later for his many years in the US, by the institution he has helped form, like TMC, by his extraordinary generosity and the kind of inspiration he has given to students and colleagues. So this is really a life which is worth celebrating, and I'm very glad that Professor Katre and others have managed to put together this conference in a hybrid mode, and thought it fit to even call people like us who are not really experts in geometry and dynamics and so on. Nonetheless, I'm extremely happy to be here and to give my regards to Professor Kulkarni. Wish him very well. As many have said, we wish him 100 and more years of happy, healthy life. Thank you, Professor Kulkarni, for everything you have done for us, for mathematics, and wish you all the best. Happy birthday. We know that today is actually his birthday, and he's spending, a good part of the day with us. He did spend part of it with his family. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Professor Ghorpade. Thank you. Now, I request Professor Date. Anyone who wants to please introduce.
Hello, my name is Siddharth Sarkar. I'm currently from IISER Bhopal, and I knew Professor Kulkarni because he was my PhD supervisor during my HRI days. Okay, so let me just give a bit of background. I mean, I was a student in HRI, and then there was a rumor that someone named Professor Kulkarni would be able to join, and I was interested in working in something called Lie groups and Lie algebras. Of course, that's not something I worked on later onwards, but it was a great pleasure of working with him in the past few years during my PhD days, because he was the one who could actually turn my interest around where I should focus on. And I actually worked in something called Hurwitz problem. And this came up with one of his cofinite theorem, which is kind of very popular. And I'll be talking tomorrow about it more. So in these few words, I actually want to say that, okay, so I also want to be in your 100th birthday. Thank you, sir. Have a happy
you. Now I request Professor Date from Indian Academy of Industrial and Applicable Mathematics. And he wants to felicitate Professor Kulkarni on behalf of the organization. Professor Date.
Happy birthday to Professor Kulkarni. To
The volume. No.
I met him first time in Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, and later on we became very close to each other. He is a person not only in mathematics, he is expert in philosophy, spirituality, and many other aspects. So, dialogue with him in Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, and he is great supporter to our organization, society, which is jointly working with Mathematics Consortium. Our society is the first society who joined this consortium, and since then we are associated closely. I am attending all the meetings of consortium. He invites me. And one more important point is, when the conference at Banaras held, that time he gave me honor by American Mathematical Society, felicited me because of his suggestion. Since then, we are associated closely for many occasions, and every time when I come to Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, we discuss about mathematics, spirituality, and other aspects. So I felicitate him on behalf of our academy. I want to say a few words about Dr. Bhatkar, who has always supported our academy when it started in Pune University, and gave all facilities when he was director of CDAC.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor Kulkarni's student Vikas Jadhav who wants to just. Anyone in the audience who like to speak? Family, members of the family of Professor Kulkarni are present here. So I request his sister-in-law. Who? Just 2 minutes. Hello, Mukulmani Tripathi.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Sir,
please go ahead. I request.
can you please hear me? Sir, good evening. I'm not there. Can you please hear me?
Yes.
Hello. So, respected Professor Kulkarni, sir, happy birthday message. Professor Karmesu, Professor Sastri, Professor Dani, my friend, Professor Krishnendu Gangopadhyay, Professor BP Saxena, sir, Professor Bhatkar, Professor Khanduja, Professor Satyadev, Professor Joshi, sir, my friend, Professor Katre, sir, and sir, Professor B.B. Acharya, sir, Professor J. Narlikar, Professor Burma, and my student, Devendra Tiwari, he is here. I'm very happy to see him here. He was my master's student at Banaras Hindu University and did his project under my supervision. What to say about Professor Kulkarni? We just see him and we always feel that he is the source of positive energy, not to mathematician, but to everyone around him. And we really feel very, very comfortable and very, very pleasant whenever we think of him, whenever we do mathematics, and whenever we serve our society. I started my journey from Lucknow University, and I'm happy to see here Professor BP Saxena, sir, who was in my selection committee, and I was appointed lecturer in 1991. Thank you, sir. In 2007, I joined Banaras Hindu University as a full professor. At that time, I had two choices. One was to join the oldest university of South Korea as associate professor, but I opted to serve my country. And after that, the story begins here. We had many occasions to take inspiration from Professor Kulkarni, sir, who often visited Kashi, and he loves Kashi, and it gives us a lot of pleasure. So even in this month, it was, May 8th, we had a great chance to visit Bisnath Corridor, sir, if you remember, in the evening, in the Aarti time, and we always have his blessings. And what to say more, we feel inspiration from him, and in the same spirit, we try to transpire the knowledge and whatever we have to our students. In 2016, when the AMS TMS TMC conference was held at Banaras Hindu University with help of my friend, he was here, Dr. Venkatesh Tiwari, and we had galaxy of mathematicians around here, and probably it is a great mathematical event in the country to begin a new era in this century. I first time met Robert Bryant, who was the president of AMS that time, We had some great time at Ganga Aarti. We spent some time with him, and we discussed a lot of things about six-sphere conjecture with him. He had worked a lot in that area. And after that, I gave the concept of complex golden ratio, and which is closely related with six-sphere conjecture. And this lecture I presented at Sobolov Institute of Russia. Professor Mednik will be joining in this conference. I will be happy to see him again here. Whatever I say about Professor Kulkarni, sir, it is very, very less, sir. You are simply great for us as human being and as mathematics scholar. And in my personal opinion, every Indian student who is willing to work in mathematics, not only in geometry, he must study his paper, Curvature and Metric, published in Annals of Mathematics. Probably it was in 1968 or 60, yes, it is that. So, sir, thank you so much, sir. And I feel very happy to be part of this felicitation. My happy birthday wishes to you, sir. Have a long life. Stay with us, blessed to us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukulmani. Thank you. So, Professor Kulkarni's sister-in-law, Neeta Kulkarni, is here, and she would like to speak about Professor Kulkarni. She will express herself in Marathi. Neeta Kulkarni, please.
नमस्कार. आजच्या या व्यासपीठावर उपस्थित असलेले व्यासपीठावर उपस्थित असलेले शिक्षण क्षेत्रातील ज्येष्ठ मान्यवर व तसेच समोर बसलेले सर्व सदस्यांना व कुटुंबातील माझ्या सर्व सदस्यांना माझा नमस्कार. मी सौ नीता सुनील कुलकर्णी कुटुंबातील सर्वात धाकटी सून. आज तीर्थरूप भाईंच्या म्हणजेच डॉक्टर रवींद्र श्रीपाद कुलकर्णी यांच्या 81व्या वर्षी पदार्पणानिमित्त म्हणजेच सहस्रचंद्र दर्शन सोहळ्यानिमित्त आपण सर्वांसमोर माझे मनोगत व्यक्त करते. आज खरं तर कुटुंबातील ज्येष्ठ व समाजातील श्रेष्ठ बुद्धिवान व्यक्तीबद्दल म्हणजेच माझे दीर श्री रवींद्र श्रीपाद कुलकर्णी म्हणजेच आमचे भाई यांच्याबद्दल मला मोठे मनोगत व्यक्त करण्याची संधी मिळते आहे. हे माझं भाग्यच आहे. ही संधी मिळण्याबद्दल तुम्हा सर्वांचे खूप खूप धन्यवाद. मी आज आमच्या कुलकर्णी कुटुंबातील एक प्रतिनिधी म्हणून तसेच मला त्यांच्याबरोबर एक काम करताना आलेले अनुभव व त्यातून मला कळलेले उमगलेले भाई याबद्दल बोलणार आहे. मला या कुटुंबामध्ये येऊन म्हणजेच माझ्या लग्नाला 40 वर्ष पूर्ण होत आहेत. माझे पती डॉक्टर सुनील श्रीनिवास कुलकर्णी यांनी आमच्या लग्नानिमित्त भाईंनी खूप सुंदर पत्र लिहिले होते. संसाराचे महत्व व त्याबद्दलच्या सूचना त्या पत्रामध्ये केल्या होत्या. आम्ही दोघेही ते पत्र सतत वाचतो. अजूनही ते पत्र आम्ही जपून ठेवले आहे. भाई हे सुरुवातीचे बरेच वर्ष अमेरिकेत असल्याने तसा संबंध यायचा नाही. तेथून भारतात परतल्यानंतर त्यांच्याशी बोलण्याचा संबंध आला. त्यांच्या बुद्धिमत्तेचा व स्वभावाचा मी नेहमीच आदर केला आहे. ते माझे नात्याने दीर असले तरी मी त्यांना माझ्या वडिलांसमान मानते. मला कळलेले भाई हे त्यांच्या स्वभावाच्या अनेक पैलूमुळे आध्यात्मिक विचाराचे, सामाजिक विचारांचे व कुटुंबावर असलेल्या प्रेमळ स्वभावाचे, कदाचित या अनेक पैलूंमुळे व या विचारांच्या समतोल राखल्याने आज जगभरात प्रतिष्ठित व्यक्ती म्हणून त्यांचा सन्मान होतो. अध्यात्मातील विचारांच्या गीता, ज्ञानेश्वरी, दासबोध, शंकराचार्यांची सूत्रे यामार्फत सतत सुरेख व मधुर शब्दात समजेल अशा भाषेत विवेचन करायचे. माझी अध्यात्म विषयातील गोडी त्यांच्यामुळेच व त्यांच्या आई म्हणजेच माझ्या सासूबाई ती नीला कुलकर्णी या दोघांमुळे निर्माण झाली. राग, अनुराग, वैराग या अवस्थातून जाणे हे वैरागी वृत्तींना जगणं हा भाईंचा विशेष गुण आहे. माझे सासरे तीर्थरूप दादा म्हणजेच डॉक्टर श्रीपाद दत्तात्रय कुलकर्णी यांनी 1980 साली डॉक्टर रवींद्र श्रीपाद कुलकर्णी मदत निधी पुणे या नावाने संस्था स्थापन केली. शिक्षण क्षेत्रातील कार्य पुढे नेण्यासाठी उद्दिष्ट हाती घेऊन ही संस्था उभारण्यात आली. त्यांचे सर्वात पहिले पाऊल म्हणजे भीष्म प्रकाशन. या प्रकाशनाद्वारे इतिहासाचे 18 खंड इंग्रजी व मराठीतून प्रसिद्ध झाले. तीर्थरूप दादांनी केलेले प्रकाशनद्वारे इतिहासाचे 18 खंड इंग्रजी व मराठीत तीर्थरूप दादांनी प्रकाशित केले. सोलापूर जिल्ह्यातील आमच्या मूळ गावी म्हणजेच अंकोली येथे शैक्षणिक व आरोग्य विषयक सेवा संस्था उभ्या केल्या. 1999 साली माझे सासरे तीर्थरूप दादा यांचे निधन झाले. वडिलांनी पाहिलेले स्वप्न प्रत्यक्षात उतरवण्यासाठी धडपड करणं, योग्य व्यक्तींची आप्तेष्टांची निवड करणं आणि स्वामी समर्थ म्हणतात तसं भिवू नकोस, मी तुझ्या पाठीशी आहे, अशा पद्धतीने पाठबळ देणं हे भाईंकडून शिकले. अंकोली येथील परिसरात ओसाडमाळ रानावर जे काही फुललं आहे त्या जमिनीला भाईंच्या पदस्पर्शाने त्यांच्या घामाने पुलकित केलं. हे त्रिवार सत्य आपण जाणून घेतलं पाहिजे. नवनिर्मितीचा ध्यास बाळगून त्यासाठी झोकून देणारी माणसं जोडणं, ती उभी करणं हे भाईंनी करून दाखवलं. सोलापूर जिल्ह्यातील अंकोली या आमच्या मूळ गावी शैक्षणिक व आरोग्य विषयक अनेक उपक्रम राबविले व त्या विषयक सेवा केंद्र सुरू केली. हे उपक्रम सुरू करताना मला व माझ्या पतीला त्यांनी नेहमीच पाठबळ दिले आहे. त्यामध्ये शेती संशोधन अंतर्गत फळबागांची लागवड, आरोग्य विषयक सल्ला व उपचार केंद्र, शैक्षणिक विषयक संगणक प्रशिक्षण केंद्र, भैरवनाथ करिअर अकॅडमी असे उपक्रम हाती घेतले. त्या सर्व उपक्रमातून त्यांचा आपल्या मूळ गावाबद्दलचे प्रेम, ममत्व दिसून येते. शालेय, विद्यालयीन, विद्यापीठ व जागतिक स्तरावर अनेक यशशिखर पादाक्रांत करणारे आमचे भाई म्हणजेच अहंकाराचा स्पर्श सुद्धा होऊ देत नाहीत व नकळत समोरच्या लोकांवर संस्कार करतात. हे आणखीन एक वैशिष्ट्य आहे. आयुष्यात लहान मोठी संकटे आली तरी विचलित न होता धैर्यशील स्वभावाने त्यांनी त्यावर मात तर केलीच, पण त्याही पलीकडे जाऊन श्री ज्ञानेश्वर माऊली म्हणतात तसं दुरितांचे तिमिर जावो, विश्व स्वधर्म सूर्ये पाहो, जो जे वांछील तो ते लाहो प्राणीजात. ही ओवी आचरणात आणली ती भाईंनी. त्यांच्याच प्रेरणेने व सासूबाईंच्या सहवासाने अंकोली येथील श्री रामाचे मंदिरही स्थापन करण्यात आले. प्रत्येक रामनवमीला तीर्थरूप सासूबाईंच्या स्मरणार्थ रामनवमी उत्सव व गाव जेवण आयोजित केले जाते. आपल्या सगळ्यांना सुपरिचित स्वर्गीय पु ल देशपांडे हे पण भाई या नावाने ओळखले जातात. त्यांनी पण समाजाला भरभरून दान दिलं. तद्वतच आमच्या भाईंनी देखील प्रसिद्धीपासून दूर राहून खूप काही केलंय. त्यांची यादी करणं अवघड आहे. परिसस्पर्श झाला की लोखंडाचे सोने होते असं म्हणतात. आमच्या आयुष्यात देखील भाईंच्या सहवासाचा परिसस्पर्श झाला आणि माझ्या कुटुंबाचे व माझं आयुष्याचं सोनं झालं हे नम्रपणे कबूल करते. आदरणीय भाईंविषयी खूप सांगता येण्यासारखं आहे, पण थांबवण्याआधी एवढंच म्हणेन, काय वाणू आता न पुरे ही वाणी, मस्तक चरणी ठेवीत असे. जय श्रीराम. धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद मित्रताई. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.
प्रमोद पाठक. प्रमोद पाठक.
प्लीज प्रमोद पाठक.
My name is Dr. Pramod Pathak. But again, he hear it. No? Yes, my pleasure. I am Dr. Pramod Pathak. my contact with Professor Dr. Kulkarni is just less than 6 months. But at this very juncture, I know we have been meeting for last more than 60 years. That is the thickness. Within such a short time, we developed amongst each other. Of course, credit goes to Professor Kulkarni. To be really frank, I am humbled by his humbleness. I mean, now as I hear you people, so many things he has accomplished in his life, I really get more humbled. I mean, I just knew him as a man who had achievements, great achievements, of which I was not aware. Today, I am becoming aware of that. And since we met, the first thing I noted was he was really generous. He has supported so many institutions, and one of the institutions in which I am associated generously. So this generousness is something which he has never boasted. And that is what humbleness is for. Because people go on doing, but they also claim to have done it. And he hardly speaks about it. Second thing is, I was really surprised, and it is a very well-known combination in Maharashtra especially, that people who knew Sanskrit were also good mathematicians. And one of the ideal example for me is Lokmanya Tilak. He was a mathematician of great order who made some reputable contribution to ancient Indian history. And at the same time, he was a politician come whatnot. So similarly, I find Professor Kulkarni on par with him in many respects, that he is a institution maker, apart from being a great scholar. And now he is toying up with the idea of Indian knowledge system. Achha, there he did not stop. This is another surprise. You know, other day he was invited to speak at the Bharatiya knowledge system. Why Indian and Bharatiya? Because Bharatiya is our word. Indian is given word. And he quickly adopted to Bharatiya. Now, this adaptability to new thought is something very strong point I find him. We had a very good discussion. Dr. Bhatkar is also associated with us. And I was really surprised that he adopted me into the group, whether do I deserve it or not. Really speaking, it is my pleasure to be here on this great occasion to know more about the great man with whom I have been talking for only 6 months or less. And I also realized that I am a black sheep among the white bulls who are here. So I am a chemical engineer, and I find him communicating with me on chemistry and chemical parts equally proficiently as any professor would have done. Sir, my pleasure to be associated with you, and we will keep association till you and me cross 100. Jeevet Sardashatam.
Thank you, Dr. Patil. Yes. So today we have Mr. Saraf and Mr. Inamdar present here. We have perhaps the longest association with Professor Kulkarni in this hall. They are his schoolmates from NMV. Mr. Saraf and Mr. Inamdar. Please. Yeah.
It is a pleasure for me to be here to celebrate the 81st birth anniversary of Dr. Kulkarni. I am his very close associate in the sense he happens to be with me and Mr. Inamdar since 1956. Not only he was my classmate, but he used to sit on the very next bench in my NMB school. After completing, of course, all of you know that he was a top rank holder in SSC that time. He was first with remarkably exceptionally good score in SSC board. Of course, there were other competitors also. They were also equally competent. But in spite of all that, the difference between him and the second person was at least 3%. He scored exceptionally good mark. And as you all come from scientific and mathematical community, you know that there are different levels of understanding. As we know, the famous story of a long naked swan. Same thing is with me. Even though I'm very closely associated with Dr. Kulkarni, I know only few aspects of Dr. Kulkarni. I cannot say anything more about mathematics because I belong to the field of engineering. But in engineering also we have mathematics, and if there is any doubt or any difficulty, hardly engineering people have any doubts in mathematics after completing 50 years of service. But still we really enjoy talking to him on certain issues, mostly with continuous mathematics and in some respect with discrete mathematics. We mostly talk on continuous mathematics because that is my pleasure also. But I gather a lot, and not only mathematics. Recently, with my daughter-in-law, when he got associated for periodic table and mathematics, we really enjoyed his talk on the net. There are various aspects which we can learn from him even now. He is not only a mathematician, let me be very frank. Of course, you people know that he's a very scholarly person in languages also. He has exceptional good command on English. He was more or less competitor for Jagannath Shankar Seth at my time. But I think by one or two marks, he lost Jagannath Shankar Seth and mostly got Bidkar. But still he continued his practice or his learning Sanskrit even now also. Because when I took his interview for my school souvenir, I came to know that still he has very good command on Sanskrit. And he certainly ended our interview with a very good note and one very Sanskrit slok, which I don't remember, of course, but he did that, and that was a wonderful souvenir that we really enjoyed. Not only that, scholarly attitude is different, but more or less, with our schoolmates coming together, he embedded different different social ideas in us. He did a lot of work in US universities. And there he told me that it's very essential to come together for the reforms of the schools. Reforming school is very tough job today because schools are aided and people are very reluctant to do any extra work, as I observed. But still, in spite of all odds, he suggested that we should really do something good for the schools, and he was very generous to donate good amounts from time to time for elevating the standards of the students of the schools. To that extent, he has really shown exceptional social commitment towards our school, which is, as you know, is not of the same standard as it was in 1958. With all that, we meet very often, at least 6 months, at least twice in a year. And to that extent, we certainly seek some guidance from him. There are many more things which have to be told, but I have my limitations for time, and there are many things which I cannot say at this stage offhand. But with all that, it's really a great pleasure for me to celebrate this occasion. And as a good friend, I would like to hand over this bouquet of flowers. Thank you. To Dr.
I tell you, Professor Saraf was a professor of engineering, very distinguished one, at the COEP, College of Engineering in Pune. And he is also very socially conscious. He also does the many things. And I just joined him rather than I guided him.
Thank you.
He is Dinamdar. He was ahead of me in many years, and in school also. And, he has been an engineer also, and very, very, very gentleman. Manasi Vachasikaye Punya Piyusha Purna. It is that type of person. And he takes care of all our NMB group. He is the glue which puts this NMB group together. And we are very, very thankful to him. And besides that, I should tell you his personal thing, that he is a descendant of Tukaram Maharaj. And he himself is somewhat like him. Thank you.
So that just I want to say one thing. There is a verse in Sanskrit. Shateshi jayate shura sahasreshi च पंडिता. आणि मग शेवटी आहे दाता भवती वानवा. तर आमचा रसिक कुलकर्णी दाता भवती वानवा या कॅटेगरीमध्ये बसणारा एक विलक्षण अद्वितीय असा मित्र आहे. म्हणजे श्रीमंत माणसं खूप असतात, पण आपल्या जवळचं जे काही आहे ते इतरांना सहज मनापासून उपलब्ध करून देणं, ही प्रवृत्ती जी रशीमध्ये आहे ती खरोखरच एक दुर्मिळ असा गुण आहे.
Thank you very much. It's really wonderful to see great Numovians and old-time great people. It was one of the great schools, not only in the state but in the country. So, Professor Arvind, CS Arvind, has sent an email. So I request Professor Katre to read out this.
Yeah, this is an email from Professor C.S. Arvind from Bangalore. I deeply admire Professor Ravi Kulkarni for his immense contribution to mathematics, Riemann geometry in particular, for his deep scholarship in Sanskrit, and for his legendary energy. My heartfelt and reverential pranam to him on the occasion of his achieving yet another significant milestone in life, the 80th birthday. I am one of the very fortunate ones to be personally enriched with his warm friendship of over a couple of decades, a beneficiary, so to speak. I have enjoyed every moment of my several long discussions with him on geometry and Sanskrit that will always remain vivid and fresh in my memory. My fondest greetings and warmest wishes to him on this unique occasion for a happy and healthy long life of joy and contentment. So this is the message from Professor C.S. Arvind from Bangalore.
Okay. Distinguished. झालेला आहे? Okay, okay. Hello, Professor Mangala Naralekar. Okay, Professor Naralekar is there. Please unmute. Naralekar madam, please unmute yourself, please.
I'm just getting Jayant here, so give me a few seconds.
Okay, we'll wait.
रवी कुलकर्णीच्या साठी हे चालू आहे. फक्त त्यांना बेस्ट विशेष दिले असतात. तो इथे तुझी कुठची आहे. ठीक आहे, ठीक आहे, बस ठीक आहे. It's fine. Sorry about it. He is a bit slow now. Good. That's very good. हाँ बोल ना.
Well, wish you all the best on your 80th birthday.
Yes, yes.
You are about 4 years behind me.
It's my honor that
I am reminded of your visit to Cambridge when you were a student and I was a young fellow. I remember still your face at that time. And it's nice to see you here in Pune. And I hope we'll get on well with your work further.
thank you.
All the best. All the best. Yeah, for some time. Okay. Sorry, we cannot attend in person, but we send all the best wishes.
Thank you, Professor Naralekar. Thank you very much.
I met Jayant long before he became the famous scientist. When he was a student at Cambridge. And on my way.
त्याच्याबद्दल बोलतोय. तुला खूप दिवसापूर्वी केम्ब्रिज मध्ये भेटले त्याच्याबद्दल ते बोलतात. Same thing that you talked about.
On my way to US,
Yes.
Way to US, I stopped specially in Cambridge just to meet him.
Do you remember the year? Was it 65 or 64 or 66?
64 or 65.
64 or 65, was it?
62.
1960?
62.
Oh, 62. It was earlier, 1962. Okay.
You hosted me very well.
I was a fellow at that time.
I knew him as a great student, not yet a great scientist and
That's good. Okay. All the best for your function today.
I think, let me just say, he has been one of the inspirations in my life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so very renowned computer scientist, Padma Bhushan, Professor Bhatkar readily agreed to grace this occasion, and he is amongst us today for this felicitation program. So on behalf of Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, we are very grateful to him, and thank you, sir. And now I request him to deliver his speech.
there.
Professor Ravindra Kulkarni and distinguished people, distinguished mathematicians, and also members of the family who are present, his very dear friends from school days who have come for this occasion and express their very intimate thoughts. It's a great day for all the friends and admirers of Professor Kulkarni and his friends all over the world, his colleagues, his collaborators, who have expressed because of this virtual medium that has become available to us, and the thoughts they have expressed, and the emotions they have expressed on this very special day, which is in the Indian culture called, as has been said, Sahasra Chandra Darshan. It's a very, very special occasion in one's life. And we are celebrating this man, his contributions in various forms. I have known Professor Kulkarni very recently. Last, how many months?
Oh, 3-4 years.
Few years. Knowing him has been a, I think, great learning for me. I was especially attracted to him because of his outstanding, remarkable, very well-known contributions to mathematics. As has been said by Professor Saraf and Inamdar, his schoolmates, I'm also an engineer by learning, by education. But I was especially attracted to mathematics during my doctoral research at IIT Delhi. At that time, I was supposed to do some technological contributions in the field of electrical engineering and specifically in the field of computers, which was emerging at that time, during the 70s. One thing that attracted to me to mathematics was the emerging general systems theory. General systems theory, which was emerging at that time, had brought one issue to the fore. And that was, Professor Khatri, it was that although there are many disciplines in engineering and many will emerge, like artificial intelligence and many data sciences and all that thing, eventually everything that we know, that we cognate, can be and will be translated into mathematical models. Mathematical models in various forms. Eventually, because I was working in computers, the initial computers that were available to us at that time we had 1909 sort of computer, which was less than a laptop, which was available to the IITs or institutes like that. It will be possible to solve any problem in engineering if it can be translated into mathematical model. And mathematical model can be any form: algebraic equation, differential equations, partial differential equations, integral differential equations, functional equations. And then I was attracted to these models, to mathematical models. What an amazing thing that whatever is expressed in physical forms can be translated, can be visualized, can be conceptualized in some simple equations. May not be simple equations, but in abstract form, abstract equations. And that has been the, so I became a great admirer of mathematics. I came to realize that if anything can be translated in mathematics, the language of mathematics, then we can understand it in that abstract form, and then we can solve them using the techniques that were emerging, the computational techniques that were emerging, and the simulation methods that were emerging. So I got attracted. I said, I left everything in electrical engineering and all that. I said that now my life, future life will be devoted to understanding mathematical models in its various forms and its new emergences which I was seeing. So when I came to know that Professor Kulkarni is here and his contributions, I just was browsing and trying to understand. I said, and we became friends in some way. One abiding thing which we have got and which has been expressed, which was expressed, that he is a unique person in that sense, uniqueness, that was trying to bring, in one breath, science and spirituality. The thoughts of which I think Einstein had expressed in most elaborate form, not elaborate form, most succinct way, like his equations. And I said, after reading what Einstein said about religion and science, this one, I was deeply attracted to that, and we thought that we should work together. Dr. Kulkarni and we, when we were discussing, why not organize a conference on science and society? We talked about what NASI has, a new initiative which they had visualized.
It's an old
initiative. Old initiative, the science and society. And we decided that it is in this context of COVID or this one, let us look at this issue fresh again, issue of science, religion, and philosophy. We decided that let's organize this conference. Those are the headaches of COVID, and we thought that it will have to be organized in the virtual way. But he insisted also that we can also organize it in the physical way. We should do it Prayagraj, and it was also done virtual way. So, but we could not yet organize that conference. We thought we'll go to the Ganges, we'll take a dip in Ganges and look at this very fresh way. We are still working on it. We have been discussing on this, and we have been meeting in my office, elsewhere as well. So many things have been expressed about Professor Kulkarni very, very beautifully. very subtly, very sublimely. And one thought I thought, which came to me my mind as I was coming, I was being ushered to Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, a young person who's not, I'm not seeing him right now. मी त्यांना विचारलं की आजचं जी मीटिंग आहे ती कोणत्या भाषेत असेल त्याच्यामध्ये, त्यांनी अर्थातच मराठीमध्ये त्याच्यामध्ये. तर मग मला प्रश्न निर्माण झाला की प्रोफेसर कुलकर्णी has been working in various specializations of mathematics, remarkable contribution. आता मी काय म्हणणार, whether it's algebraic geometry, with its topology, with its functional equations, with so many things. हे मराठीमध्ये कसं एक्सप्रेस करायचं, काय म्हणायचं. आणि नवीन जी आपली शिक्षण नीती ती तयार झालेली आहे सुद्धा ते. आय एम व्हेरी हॅपी टू सी so many years we used to meet in CDAC, we organized so many conferences together. तो प्रश्न माझ्या समोर आला की आता त्या विषयांना काय म्हणायचं. फंडामेंटल जे आपल्या 14 विद्या 64 कला जे आपल्या भारतीय संस्कृतीमध्ये आहेत आणि आता त्या अनेक ब्रँचेस ऑफ विज्ञानाचे तयार झालेले आहेत, विज्ञानाचे तयार झालेले आहेत, त्यांना काय म्हणावं मराठीमध्ये, हा प्रश्न माझ्यासमोर उभा राहिला. तर प्रथम आपण कळायला पाहिजे की मॅथमॅटिक्स which is a fundamental discipline. Anything else, anything can be expressed in mathematics. But if we cannot express even these names of these branches in Marathi, तर मग काय त्या विषयाविषयी काय म्हणायचं. अँड व्हेन नवीन शिक्षण नीतीमध्ये, राष्ट्रीय शिक्षण नीतीमध्ये हा प्रश्न आला होता की वी शुड ऑल्सो लर्न, we should also able to teach and transfer the new branches in our mother tongue, in our national language. There is no national language yet. Recently, I've been talking about most of the things, fundamental breakthroughs like zero, like infinity, like imaginary numbers, like large numbers, which I'm working in supercomputers, very large numbers, which has been expressed in Sanskrit. What is the equivalence in our mother tongues? The first task, sorry, we must bring in that what are the fundamental aspects of mathematics or expressions of mathematics can be expressed, which was originally expressed in Sanskrit and translated, transferred to Europe, and then through Arabic, through Europe, and now we try to understand them. When I'm working on supercomputers, the question had come, I had to develop supercomputer which can perform about, at that time when we started in, I think the 88, 90s, computers that can perform about 1 billion mathematical operations per second. And then we found that the technology was developing so fast in computing. So from million to billion to trillion, to then the question came, what is how even English language to express the next numbers. And then I learned it was called peta, and then it was 1,000 times that was exa, and now we are working on what is called exa to iota. It's computing power increases by a factor of 1,000 every 10 years. And I was working on that. And I found surprising that these numbers were expressed in Sanskrit long time back. And of course, the question came that something that if our science can our science be expressed now in today's context, where we are talking about very, very large numbers like exa, like iota, like zeta 10 to the power 21, 20 or 24, like that mathematical operations per second. and various types of numbers that express maybe the real numbers, the imaginary numbers, the complex numbers, all that kind of things, manifestations like this. So then I thought I must request or perhaps collaborate if I have something to discuss with him, Professor Kulkarni. Let us bring these mathematical foundations, including in number theory or many other things, many branches of this one, and express in a very simple way. Can we come out with basic contributions in mathematics, starting from zero to what is manifestation today, as nothing. How can we do that? And then he said, let us begin from Sanskrit, how they can be very beautifully expressed in Sanskrit, and then translating other Indian languages. So today this has been major issue. How do we express science? Physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, of course, new manifestations of mathematics which are emerging, like an artificial intelligence, like in data sciences, all that kind of things. So I think one of the things I would like to take up under the guidance of Professor Kulkarni was that let us bring this fundamental contribution. Most of it occurred from India in Sanskrit, and they can be easily then translated in many other, they almost will remain same, because they are available in Sanskrit for most Indian languages. As knowing Professor Kulkarni as a person, as all of us said uniformly that he is a great man. Most important is not the scientific aspect, as the human aspect of a person, which everybody has expressed. His humility, his love, his affection, and his generosity for the field, for everybody. So this has, of course, touched my life. Without, then I felt that only science is not enough. We must also express the humanities, the language of love, like Einstein had expressed, that at the end of his life, as his daughter had expressed some time back, that is finally, he said, when he wrote those letters which have been published, I don't know whether how real they are, and what his daughter made available to the Israel Society, or that the largest force, or the greatest force on the earth is the language of love, language of love. And this is what we can see in it. So going there. So this is what is, I think we can learn from his life, both the emotional aspect of love, humility, humanity, as well as precise language of mathematics and its manifestations. So I feel I'm really blessed, and we all of us, what you are thinking. You have created an ideal of a scientist for all of us, not only as a scientist, as a human. There's so much to learn from you. There is so much to learn. And I feel we are fortunate that we can also collaborate and talk to you. And you have created so many students. You have created so many societies, and you work on all of them. And your abiding interest that we should help the Indian, we respect the great contributions made in India, and then we have to create young generation, which is that, and you are helping for that contribution in a very holistic way. Today we are talking about emotional artificial intelligence. Emotion will become a very, very fundamental issue, like it is in our life. But emotional models, mathematical models for your emotions as well, because without that, our understanding of the reality will be incomplete. So I think you are one of the, not only your contributions, outstanding contributions, but much has to come from you and all of us under your direction to face the challenges of tomorrow's sciences, tomorrow's, the societies. And that's why we wanted to organize this conference. I think you want to lead you are leading that. And if it can be done in mathematics, if can be, then it can be done in every other branch of human expression. So Professor Kulkarni, Ravindra Kulkarni, we salute you. You are an outstanding example of how a scientist should be, how a human should be, how a brother should be, like your sister-in-law is expressed as, not sister-in-law has expressed. And from her expression, I was thinking that when she expressed in Marathi, we realize how beautifully we understand. Similarly, our mathematics or sciences, if it is expressed in Marathi, for the Marathi audiences or many languages, the 22 languages that we have got, I think will bring, and the medium will be, the gateway will be mathematics. And that's all. So in this thing, I consider myself fortunate that I met you. And I will be very fortunate to work with you or on that conference and work on many dimensions of sciences which want to bring before our young students and the people across the world. Thank you very much, sir. It has been, we salute you.
I'm truly grateful that you made yourself available to come here. I also did not know that Jayan Narlikar would join us. But, well, these are some of the great moments of my life. So let me say a few things about what I wish to express. Is that in the schedule?
One is already. No, it was then it was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Bhatkar, for very insightful lecture. Thank you very much. On behalf of Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, the custodian of Pratishthan, Professor Katre, would like to say a few words here.
Thank you very much. I will say a few things only. So many things I have already said about Professor Kulkarni. So my first recollection about Professor Kulkarni is that when I was a student in SP College, our teacher, Professor Railkar, used to say about many past students. And Professor Sane is here. He used to talk about him, Professor Balmon Lime. And I found that the most distinguished student I found was Professor Ravi Kulkarni. So he used to, Professor Railkar, our teacher, used to tell us many things about Professor Ravi Kulkarni. And then when I was also a teacher there in SP College later, we also used to get some help for the students for organizing programs in SP College. There was an association of the Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan with him when he was director of Harishchandra Research Institute. And at that time, we organized a joint international conference. Professor Ravi Rao was also involved and many other professors from Tata Institute were involved. And Professor Ravi Kulkarni was director of Harishchandra Research Institute at that time. And because of his help and initiative, this joint conference of Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan with HRI was held. And this was very successful. Of course, as mentioned by Professor J.K. Verma, I was there when Professor J.K. Verma and Professor Kulkarni were talking about various aspects of this annual foundation schools and advanced training schools. Professor Shastri was also there involved with this idea. He also had these ideas. And at that time, at that discussion time, I was also there. And now we see Professor J.K. Verma is the head of National Center for Mathematics now. And many professors like Professor Ghorpade is here. All of them are involved and they have made this activity a success. But the initiative was taken by Professor Ravi Kulkarni, and then Professor Raghunathan took it up and all that. So not only Professor Ravi Kulkarni guided students abroad, but also in India when he was in HRI, then he was in IIT and later in Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan. All these institutes he has guided students. So really his coming back to India was very helpful for research in India. He had the idea of regional programs, and many regional programs have been organized all over India through the Mathematics Consortium. Today also we had a regional program in which many speakers who came for the conference, they gave lectures, and such a regional program was organized at the Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan. Of course, his work about the Mathematics Consortium was mentioned by many. One thing I want to say here is that he is ready to discuss on any topic in mathematics with anybody at any time. And he will not show that he is already knowledgeable about that thing. He will talking in a very friendly manner, even if some student from BSc is there. And to us also, he does not, pretend, show that he is very knowledgeable. So that is very important aspect of him. And we have got a lot of enthusiasm to work in mathematics because of his guidance. I wish him good health and active life in the years to come. And Vedic saying says, Satanjiva Sharado Vardhamana. So with that, I stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Katre. This is certainly a very happy occasion for Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, and we are very lucky to have Professor Kulkarni with Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan for a long time as a mentor, guide, philosopher, and we are certainly sure that it will be a continued association for a much longer time hereafter also. So now I request Professor Kulkarni to deliver his lecture.
Can you make it little larger? Okay. This thing. Okay. This thing back. One back. Yeah, I'm really truly overwhelmed today. I knew that I had many friends, but this is a very, very special occasion. It's a very unusual event, partly because I've never turned 80 before. Nor would I remember I was turning 80, had my good friends, Professors Katre and Gangopadhyay, not reminded me about it about 3 months ago, but they did
and even asked my consent to have a math conference in my honor, in which 2 hours are to be spent for personal reminiscences. Those 2 hours have been extended to 3 hours or more. This is a good tradition in the mathematical community that we arrange such a conference, and in which a small part of the time we talk about the personal reminiscences. And Professor Katre and my friend also, Professor Vikas Zadav, have made it sure that I dress properly for the occasion. And there's stitched so many dresses for me. It pleases me that many of my friends have joined to present their researches in this conference. Actually, if you think about it, 80 years is less than just 30,000 days. But it is amazing how mathematics has developed and changed in this short period. Just 60 years ago, when I was in Sir Parshuram Bhau College, the high point of our studies in mathematics were 2 books. Hardy's book on pure mathematics, a course on pure mathematics, and Whittaker-Watson's book, which was then called Modern Analysis. We puzzled why Dedekind had to make cuts in the real line and what was the point of it. Nor did we know, these are major things, the Riemann mapping theorem, why was it true? We did not know, except some great people said so. We wondered whether Fermat's last theorem would actually become a theorem in our life. But in the last 40, 50 years, many of us have come to grips with all these issues. By the last year of my college, let me remind you, in 1962, we certainly knew that Ramanujan was a great mathematician. He was recognized as a world-class mathematician. But we hardly knew the details of his work. I had not heard of Harishchandra. Through some fortuitous circumstances, I heard that Sriram Abhyankar had done some good work in algebraic geometry at Harvard University. Our syllabus for mathematics for the bachelor's degree at that time was a thorough grounding in calculus of several variables, including differential geometry of plane curves as an application of calculus. It was not taught as a geometry, but as an application of calculus, and we were grilled in the formulas. We were not told what curvature really was, but we knew the formula how to compute a curvature. And also complex analysis, a first course in complex analysis, ordinary differential equation, Newtonian statics and dynamics. That was really a hard subject for many of us because we did not know what we were doing. And still we were just grilled and grilled and grilled. Theory of equations solving polynomials of degree at most 4. Classical synthetic projective and conformal geometry. This is I enjoyed very much. And linear algebra. But the linear algebra consisted mainly again of manipulation of matrices. It was not integrated with other areas. The emphasis was on formulae. And what was missing was the conceptual unity of mathematics, and with it, the unity of science, which you were hinting at. On the other hand, I had excellent dedicated teachers. Among them, Professors Kerker and Railkar. I should gratefully recall their names. They made me almost a part of their families. Their wives had a really motherly and elder sisterly affection towards me. Professor Kerker's mastery of Whittaker-Watson was superb, was very impressive. In his beautiful handwriting, he had copious notes on the theory part and solved problems on many parts of our syllabus at the bachelor's and master's levels. I used to go to his house to study this material. He had put this material freely at the disposal of all really interested students. Now, Professor Railkar gave me some private tutorials in general topology. He was himself learning topology at that time. With some students, we had organized a student seminar on finite group theory with generous support from Professor Railkar and other teachers at Pune University. Some of them were just graduates from the TIFR. And then visionary principal of SP College, Professor V.G. Bhide. He was a chemist, actually. I said the picture of unity of mathematics was missing in our training, but it was not the defect of SP College or my teachers. It was missing in the mathematical culture in India. Our teachers and we students were grappling with how it all fitted together. Now just see what has happened in the last 40, 50 years. A lot has changed for the better. We celebrated Professor Railkar's 75th birthday, I think in 2006. 24 of his students had obtained PhDs. He himself did not have a PhD, but 24 of his students obtained PhDs in mathematics and theoretical physics. And many more have done very well in their lives and contributed to society in diverse ways. Through sheer force of his personality and a superb sense of dedication to whatever he did, he inspired 4 or 5 generations of students. Now in 1960s, the city of Pune was and still is an intellectually very vibrant city. In India, in mathematics, it was next to Chennai probably, and in physics next to Kolkata. But in those early post-independence days, Pune was an ideal city for students with an idealistic bent of mind. I studied in Pune in Nutan Marathi Vidyalaya for last 2 years in high school and then 4 years in SP College. Many of my teachers in school and college enjoyed recognition and reputation as dedicated teachers, scholars, and thinkers in their respective fields. In fact, some of them enjoyed national reputation. Among them, I would just like to mention three of my teachers outside mathematics: Professor P.L. Gowde, Professor Pugo Sahasrabuddhe, Gomo Joshi, and less known in professional circles, but Dr. Bhatkar knows, a saintly figure, Kavishwar Maharaj. But first, I should add a long personal note. I enjoyed very stable childhood and adolescence years. The main credit must go to my mother, the goddesses Lakshmi, Parvati, and Saraswati incarnated in a single lady, who helped a motherly role, who played a motherly role for the large joint family of my father, uncle, and aunt, and their 13 children, in addition to her brothers and sisters. She was the eldest of them. The next credit must go to my father. He was gifted with immense energy and intelligence. Coming from a lower middle class family from a village near Solapur and graduating first class honors in Sanskrit, he joined government service and rose to a position of additional commissioner of sales tax in Maharashtra state. But his real interest was in academic scholarship. While in government service, completely independently, he studied economics on his own and wrote 2 prize-winning books on economics in Marathi. At the same time, he wrote a book on Bhagavad Gita, and a little later, a book on Shankaracharya, his real intellectual hero. And that book was widely acclaimed. After retirement from government service at the age of 58, he spent the last 24 years of his life in writing a very original book on philosophy and editing an 18-volume work on cultural history of India. When he died in 1999, he was busy writing a non-scholastic commentary on the Vedas, non-scholastic for the general people and for scientifically oriented people. He was also a great scholar and communicator of my ideas. I cannot say enough about my father. He would have liked to be a professor at a university, but life circumstances prevented him from becoming a professor. So in his children, he found good students. He introduced us to Bhagavad Gita the spiritual classics of Saint Naneshwar and Ramdas, and a good deal of Sanskrit and English literature. He was very much fond of classics. For example, already in my 8th or 9th grade, I had serious private lessons in learning English language by reading with him short versions of the Bible, the Quran, and the tales from Shakespeare, from Charles Lamb and Mary Lamb. I do not know how many people you know this book. That was a book famous when he was a student. But then he taught me, and there were stories of all Shakespeare's dramas in a single book of some 300 pages. I must say I read about 50 or 60 of those pages. In his children, my father received financial, almost parental help by some of his teachers. He kept in touch with them throughout his life. He revered them deeply. Later, he made it a point to get personally acquainted with my teachers in school and college. In fact, one of my professors in SP College was his classmate, and one of his teachers in Solapur also became my teacher in Sanskrit in Pune. And this Professor Pant used to call me fondly as his grandson. Shri Kishore Vyas, now well known as Swami Govindev Giri Maharaj, in his student days had met my father as the author of his widely acclaimed book on Shankaracharya. Swamiji is 10 years junior to me, but he has become my guide on Vedanta and the whole Indian knowledge system. With such background, when in Pune, I came in contact with stalwarts like Professor Pralay Gaude, Puga Sasrabuddhe, Goma Joshi, and Kavishwar Maharaj, I well knew their stature and worth. Professor Gaude, among other things, was a great scholar of Jnaneshwari. Professor Sasrabuddhe, a great rationalist, philosopher, and writer. Professor G.M. Joshi, I should really say, a great Shankaracharya-like modern polymath. Kavishwar Maharaj, at my request, taught me Shankaracharya's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. Through him, I saw the difference between just a scholar and a saint who is also a scholar. I should add that I also had many good friends at high school and college. We still have a very large group of Nutan Marathi Vidyalaya, from Nutan Marathi Vidyalaya. We regularly meet once or twice a year. Many among them have become good industrialists, distinguished engineers, doctors, lawyers, bankers, colonels, social workers, professors, and what is remarkable, many have kept their social conscience alive. One of my friends, Vilas Chafekar, devoted his life to work on the welfare of the illegitimate children of prostitutes. It was recognized by the Bill Gates Foundation, which provided him grants. Another friend, Professor Ashok Kamath, has become a great authority on saints of Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Punjab. My very good mathematician friend, Professor Balmohan Limaye of IIT Bombay, 2 years junior to me, while still an undergraduate, gave a better and more concise proof of one of the theorems in Hardy's classical book on real analysis. Cambridge University Press duly acknowledged his contribution. And why did he make this contribution? He did not tell me this, but I think Balmohan's father was a recognized authority on Panini's grammar. I knew that, and I knew him somewhat. So I believe that Balmohan's proof was at most subconsciously motivated by Panini's well-known dictum expressed correctly and concisely. I know I have gone a bit astray, but I have been telling these things that by the time I went to Harvard, I knew I had inadequate preparation in mathematics, but I was well acquainted with the world of scholarship. There was some fear in my mind, as some people had advised me to wait until I finished my master's degree in India, but I took a chance. By the time I did well in the PhD qualifying exam, I had decided to make a career in research and teaching in mathematics. And on my way to Harvard, I met Jayant. His maternal uncle was my teacher. And so I tried to make friendship with him, and he was very nice with me. At Harvard, of course, I met the movers and shakers in the world of mathematics in the early 60s. I consciously opted to serve as teaching assistant in the undergraduate and graduate courses by stalwarts like Richard Brower, John Tate, John Mackey, Shlomo Sternberg, and Raoul Barth. I came to know how they actually think while involved in understanding or creating new mathematics. I saw that they largely think in terms of specific examples, along with the background of general structures. This was exactly the reverse of how we learned in India, the deductive method of presenting mathematics, followed by textbooks, or even the Bourbaki Bourbaki style of writing papers that had developed in the latter half of the last century. I give you just two examples for my mathematics colleagues. I had worked some results on the nth roots of square matrices. I showed them to Professor Tate. I used my own terminology coming from India, and it took him some time to understand that terminology. But after he understood the terminology, next half an hour, he took me to explain what the Jordan canonical form was and what it meant over general rings and so on. So just a large chunk of mathematics I just got in 1 hour, which by reading, I would have had to spend months and even then not fully understand it. Second example, after I laboriously worked out on a formal proof of Dirham's theorem through a textbook, it is still a very long proof and very tedious proof. I went to discuss it with Professor Bott. In just half an hour, Bott explained to me what the theorem said for the circle and the torus. And the theorem became absolutely clear. The proof is unnecessary. Giving a proof is different. Understanding a proof, for that, these crucial examples are necessary. In the mid-60s, in certain circles, including Harvard's algebra group, the Bourbaki movement was very strong. Some Harvard faculty were closely associated with some Bourbakis, but I noticed that their enthusiasm was not shared by the geometry, topology, or analysis group. With my Indian background, I sensed some Jnana Yoga versus Karma Yoga versus Buddhi Yoga type tensions. I also noticed that individual Bourbakis also think in terms of specific examples which are hidden in their formal writing. There is a novel system at Harvard that after the PhD qualifying exam, within 1 year, one had to write a minor thesis. The topic for this thesis was assigned by a departmental committee. The topic was purposefully assigned outside the candidate's field. One had to submit a report within 1 month. The test was to check whether a candidate can think and read independently. I took my qualifying exam after 2 years, and after 3 years, I took this minor thesis exam. Although I was attending many courses and seminars, they had formally put me in the algebra group with Professor Tate as my advisor. And I took many algebra courses. So my minor thesis advisor was Professor Sternberg, a geometer and analyst. He became a chair of my minor thesis committee. He assigned me a topic on curvature theory in Riemannian geometry. During that period, I seriously came in touch with Riemann's work. I proved some new results there and decided to change my orientation from algebra to geometry. Professor Tate was a bit disappointed that I changed my orientation, but in the American system, and especially at Harvard, they allow you to pursue your own trajectories. In one of Riemann's epoch-making papers, I had seen a statement that a Riemannian metric uniquely determines its curvature. So a natural question was, is the converse true? There was some previous work on that, which I fortunately did not know at that time. but I had formulated the precise question quite differently from the work that was done before. Neither Sternberg nor Bott, who were my advisors, had thought about this question. But they were nice to me, they were hearing me, and they were encouraging me. And as I started proving some positive results, they arranged a 4-month leave for me from Harvard to go to France and work with Professor Berger, who was a Riemannian geometer, a famous Riemannian geometer. Professor Berger pointed out one serious error in my calculation, but eventually I could fix it, and that became my thesis. It was published in the annals. At that time, both Professor Tate and Mumford, who were algebraists, they had come to my thesis defense and congratulated me. Starting with this, I have worked in 4 or 5 areas of mathematics, including topology, number theory, and algebraic geometry. But I would like to share with all of you, and surely it is your life experience too, that I have enjoyed learning a good deal of mathematics. I could only use a fraction of it in my published work. Learning mathematics just for the heck of it, conversing with truly great minds,
Sir, we can't hear you.
It is not audible. Is there any technical fault?
Yeah, sorry. So the internet in the system has some problem. So that's why the line has been disconnected. Uh, we hope that they will be able to fix it soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
No, I need my slides.
हाँ सर एक मिनट यस यस
That will be okay. Okay. Oh, but this is not working. We should be really grateful to the society in the 20th and 21st century, which allows us to do what we would have otherwise liked to do anyway. These are not my words. I've heard them from Shlomo Sternberg, Harishchandra, and Lipman Bears, who has some historical view. The luxuries we are enjoying today were not available to Bhaskaracharya, Madhavacharya, Riemann, or Hurwitz. Among my inspiring teachers with whom I was fortunate to have direct contact and who have helped me build my professional career, I would count Shlomo Sternberg, Raoul Barth, John Milner, Lipman Bears, Harishchandra, Arma Borel, and S.S. Church. At the same time, I had some great friends whose names are included among the movers and shakers of the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Among them, I would count Sullivan Thurston Gromov, S.T. Yao, Hyman Bass, Abhyankar. Abhyankar had used to come for a visit to Harvard, and I used to go for swimming with him, and I could learn a few things from him. Raghavan Narasimhan, C.S. Seshadri, M.S. Narasimhan, M.S. Raghunathan, Frank Raymond, Peter Shellen, Ulrich Pinkal, Gopal Prasad, Dani, Bill Goldman, Alan Edmonds, and John Ewing. I've actually written joint papers with a few of these people and also with a few of my students. At this point of my talk, I would like to change from mathematics to a more philosophical and spiritual themes. In a person's life, there are two stages: becoming and being. The first is up to the age of 35 or 40 years of age. At this stage, one develops one identity. These are the phrases that are used in psychological literature. In the life of a research mathematician, it lasts roughly up to becoming an associate professor or a professor, publishing some papers in reputed journals, etc. The second stage begins at the age of 40, 45. At this stage, one starts breaking one's individual identity and enlarging and merging it into larger identities. Training in mathematics has great advantages. For example, my good topologist friend, Sylvan Capel from New York says, mathematicians can make a lot of money after they leave mathematics and put their mind to making money. A little less known fact is the mathematicians can also make great physicists, chemists, biologists, economists, business tycoons, administrators, even politicians. If they choose and keep their humanity, the world will be a lot better. Some of us have responded to this calling and partly succeeded. For mathematics is a great training in organizing one's thoughts. After you acquire control over your thoughts, you can gain practically anything that you want. To add more precision to this statement, you should know my definition of mathematics as I've developed in my career. I earlier indicated some of the influences on me in my growing years. My family and some close friends are well aware of the influences of Bhagavad Gita, Shankaracharya, Jnaneshwar, and Ramdas on my life. Perhaps the 7 books, Bhagavad Gita, Vivek Chudamani, I recommend this to many of my friends, Jnaneshwari, Dasbodh, and collected works of Riemann, Poincaré, and Weil. These I have fairly gone through from the original. Summarize the essential influences on my life. Among these, let me say about 2 of my heroes, Jnaneshwar and Riemann. One was a saint in the 12th century. The other one was a mathematician in the 19th century. Both came from an humble family of priests. Both died young. Gnaneshwar was 21 and Riemann was 40. Both were superbly brilliant and born with phenomenal intuition. One grasped Shankaracharya's Advaita Vedanta as an intellectual theory and added his Kundalini Yoga and made it available in lucid terms for the masses. The other grasped the 17th century mathematics full of numerical formulas and transformed it into a mid-18th century mathematics full of elegant spatial insights. They worked in very different domains of human experience, so I cannot set up a function relating their works. But considering the ease and lucidity with which Gnaneshwar stated Galilean relativity and motion of the sun in a spiritual context, one can say with confidence that had Gnaneshwar lived, had he been exposed to the 17th century mathematics, he could have become Riemann. And equally bridging across the geographical, cultural, and linguistic differences, had Riemann been exposed to Vedanta, he would have become Gnaneshwar. Their works are different, but their activities sprang from a common stream of consciousness. More generally, I think science developed in the last 4 or 5 centuries on the one hand, and yoga and Vedanta of the Indian knowledge system, on the other hand, are among the common heritage of all humanity. Vedanta as a theory, you may or may not believe it, as a theory has attracted attention of many philosophers and scientists from ancient times in India, China, and East Asia, and for the last 3 or 4 centuries in the West. As for yoga, including meditation, many people all the world over are getting to know and benefit from it. 40 years before Prime Minister Modi took yoga to UN, in the mathematical world, already the word yoga was used probably for the first time by Grothendieck. Grothendieck is one of the great mathematicians of the 20th century. And it meant something like, yoga for Grothendieck meant something like an intense effort to develop notion structures for understanding a broad theme. I think this use of the word yoga is a good example of extension of a language used in the domain of individual physical and mental exercise to a language used in quite different domain of mathematical communities' activity of theory building. We should make a difference between language and the meaning of the words. Vakyapadiyam. So that is the, one should keep that in mind. Now, there are many issues in the scientific community. Our theories of physics and chemistry objective. That means, are they independent of involvement of human mind? This question has attracted and bothered many scientists. The question extends to mathematics also. Moreover, many theoretical physicists and chemists think that they're doing something very different from mathematics. And in the scientific community, mathematics is a very small community, and they don't care for us very much. But these issues cannot be settled without defining what is physics, what is chemistry, and what is mathematics. You have to first define, before you use the words, you should know what their meaning is. The Gödelian dilemma show that the questions about definitions are meta questions. For example, the definition of mathematics cannot be given within the domain of mathematics. The only reasonable thing to do appears to be just see what historically people have considered mathematics or any of these other disciplines, and then a respective community among human society should decide the boundaries of its discipline. Look at the examples which have characterized any of these disciplines, and then a community or some small community should sit up and decide about what our things are doing. I think Bourbakis were among the people who were trying to do such things. If you accept this, But Bourbakis were not, they thought mathematics was objective. Then you should really readily accept that, but if you accept this philosophy, then mathematics itself is not objective, but a construct of human consciousness. Indeed, if you consider language is a good measure of human development, mathematics itself is a common refinement of languages invented by humans. Our languages may be different, Marathi, Hindi, English, French, whatever, but wouldn't you consider 1, 2, 3, 4, dy by dx, integral fx dx? That's a common extension of human languages, if you look at it from a linguistic point of view. Dedekind certainly considered real numbers as creations of the human mind. I think for the natural numbers, Kronecker had some different ideas. But Dedekind clearly says real numbers are creations of the human mind. As Bhaskaracharya aptly described in a poetic way, Shabda Shastram Mukham Jyotisham Chakshushi. Grammar is the mouse, and the mathematics are the eyes of the Veda Purusha. As much as mathematics has been used to build the theories of physics and chemistry, I believe it can be used to build the theories of biology, engineering, music, business, economics. In fact, any theory, as long as you are clear about the definition of mathematics and what it means to build a theory. I do not have time here, but maybe sometimes we can discuss what it means to build a theory. Just revisiting the theories of our discipline or of other disciplines and applying your mathematical training, you may just be able to formulate more concisely and more clearly. That will surely be a contribution to the total wisdom of tradition in the world. In the last year, I've written a paper, Mathematics, Matter, Mind, and Periodic Table. It appeared in the bulletin of the Math Consortium. I gave a talk in the webinar series of the New York-based Society of Indian Academics in America based on this paper. I have also given 4 related philosophical talks on mathematics and Indian knowledge system at a conference at the Banaras Hindu University, at a faculty development program at ADY Patil University, and 2 conferences at Professor Vishwanath Karat's World Peace University in Pune. The one thing about Indian knowledge system is that the word has come in this national education policy, but we have to put the contents in it. If you are interested in such issues, I shall be happy to share my thoughts with you on such matters. Dr. Vijay Bhatkar shares my interest in on such issues, and we have been trying to organize a major conference, as he himself said, at the National Academy of Sciences at Prayagraj. It was delayed due to Corona. Now, during the last 3-4 years, Professor Amin Sofi, my mathematicians friends may know him, a distinguished professor of mathematics at the University of Srinagar, and I have had long correspondence on the issues of science, philosophy, and religion. We are trying to apply a scientific methodology to the issue of religions. This is a delicate social issue, but now try to apply the scientific methodology. We are trying to see if the scientific community can contribute to the resolving the issue of the age-old Hindu-Muslim problem in India. That will be, if this problem can be solved, that will be a great thing. His contact, Professor Sofi's contact has increased my understanding of Islam. Even if we succeed a little bit, it will be worth proving a major theorem in mathematics. I hope that both mathematics and Vedanta will surely bring clarity to such discussions, and while taking the issue to the scientific community. Let me stop my monologue here. I profusely thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. I think this event has already added 10 or 20 years of my life. I would like to thank the whole team of Bhaskaracharya Pratishthan, who have arranged this whole function so meticulously. My special tribute to late custodian Professor C.S. Inamdar, who understood what I would need during my last 20 years better than I myself knew. Very thoughtfully, he built a small flat at the hostel here in which I have been staying and sleeping practically all these years. Before that, my good friend Jugal Verma helped arrange a position for me at IIT Bombay and also with residential advantages. Still before, my good friend Raghunathan helped arrange a position for me at the Harishchandra Research Institute in Prayagraj, which made the changeover from US to India possible for me. In my life journey, my parents and the brothers and sisters of my extended family and many teachers, colleagues, and friends from the US and India have made me what I have become. I'm profoundly, profoundly grateful to all of them. Very special among them is my friend Valerie. She took some 7-8 math courses from me. And also she did a master's thesis in chemistry under my supervision. And her husband Yuri and her family. She loved the number and space approach to mathematics in my teaching, a little philosophical approach. And she did not tell this in her speech here, but she gave to her firstborn son, first name Lawrence, which is her father's name, but my name as the middle name. This Lawrence Ravi Wolf-Sonken is the fairest and sweetest Ravi I know. He loves mathematics. He graduated from the University of Maryland at College Park in computer science and has become a research scientist at Google. Many, many thanks to all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, I can make a suggestion. If we can get the record of the Professor Kulkarni's lecture, it is really.
Thank you, Professor Kulkarni.
Yeah.
Before we come to vote of thanks, I just appeal to audience to just for our sort of appreciation, join me. Professor Acharya, propose vote of thanks.
The honor of the language is to be
Good evening. I know it's quite late and I'll be quick to thank all the people who helped me and Bhaskar Pratishthan in organizing this conference. On behalf of Bhaskar Pratishthan, I would like to thank Professor Vijay Bhatkar for sparing his valuable time and sharing his thoughts on education. I would also like to thank Professor Ravi Kulkarni for agreeing to have this conference at Bhaskar Pratishthan and having this monologue, which described his journey for last 80 years.
Short time. Short time.
Yeah. I didn't say anything about it. I just said it's for 80 years. I would also like to thank all the speakers who joined online as well as offline for this function, as well as for the workshop and the conference. I would also like to thank Professor Kulkarni's family to grace this occasion. I would also like to thank our clerk, Mr. Gosavi, and many others like Mr. Nilesh Gothi and Mr. Barve, who gave their valuable time and inputs, which allowed to have this function in this hall. Yeah, I would like to thank Krishnendra Upadhyaya, Devendra Tiwari, and many others who made this. Yes, and Mr. Pawan to have this. I thank all of you who have joined this function to grace this occasion. And I would like to request all the people who are joined here offline to join the dinner organized downstairs. Thank you.
And I request Professor Bhatkar and sir to come here. They will reflect
Enjoy the rest of the function. We'll look for the food by mail. Thank you. Take care. Bye. Namaskar.
I request all of you to, those who have joined online, to switch on their videos so we can see.
प्रोफेसर करमेशु, आप कहाँ हैं आजकल? हेलो हेलो,
It's on mute. Yeah.
मैं आजकल SNU में हूँ.
What does SNU stand for, sir?
शिव नाडा यूनिवर्सिटी. SCL वालों की है.
हाँ जी, वो शिव नादर का तो पता है, पर उसका ब्रीफ नहीं पता था, उसका एब्रिविएशन नहीं पता था.
Valerie, you're going to pick up Hindi very quickly now. Okay. So I think we had what, about 17 online. Now we are 6 brave folks left. So and hunger is calling everywhere. So I don't know. I guess they've asked us to hold on here, so we'll hold.
And how few women were there? Only 2 women joined online. Valerie
Now
and
there's a third one. So yeah, you are all special. You are very, very special. So. But if you notice, in my name, there are 3 other women who are not here, but they are there. So
yes.
3. Okay. So I represent those women.
Manju is your wife?
Manju is my better half. Yes, she's my wife, and Veda is our older daughter, and Ila
is also
is the younger one. And it so happens that this is a graduation time. So Ila just graduated from high school. So we are about to go for other felicitation. So
today is a very good day for you.
Yes, it's all very auspicious day.
Yes.
Please note that the meeting is now over. Yes, now the meeting is over. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar. Bye.
Namaskar.
Bye.
Namaskar.
Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.
दिसतील मला वाटतं.
Leave the meeting. Now see.
Hello, Dani. Valerie. Good morning. Voice today.
Look forward to seeing you, Doc.
Gani sir, बहुत धन्यवाद sir. So happy to be here in this felicitation program. Thank you, sir. You are just source of inspiration for us, sir. So nice of you. Please come to Kashti again and again, sir.
Hi.
All the best.
थैंक यू सर। दानिश सर नमस्ते।
नमस्ते
सर मैं
नमस्कार।
आपसे 2016 में सर मिला था AMS कॉन्फ्रेंस में सर, यहाँ BHU में। Nice memories.
Right.
We feel very, very happy. I mean, I cannot express myself. It's just good human being around us in that conference, and you were one of the source of inspiration for us, sir. And we are trying to make some new, I mean, in new education policy, the courses to be done according to 21st century. So probably we are the only university having 4 courses of geometry in master's program: manifold theory, Riemannian manifolds, complex manifolds, and contact geometry. All the 4 geometries we are teaching here, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Hi, Lawrence.
Hi, Uncle Ravi. Happy birthday.
Hi, Lawrence. I
Hi.
think you cannot hear. Oh, hi. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Happy birthday. Congratulations.
Okay.
I think we should
Okay,
stop
now
the
we
meeting.
shall stop. Thanks to all for coming to these
Thank you.
celebrations. We are ending the meeting now. Have a nice day.